Junnie B. First Grader. Jingle bells, Batman smells, P.S. So does May. By Barbara Park. Illustrated by Dennis Bunkus. Peace and goodwill. Tuesday. Dear first grade journal, yay, yay, hooray! Today is the last week before winter break. Winter break is the school word for I gotta get out of this place, I tell you, 'cause Blabbermouth May is driving me crazy. She is tattling on me every day almost. That's how come yesterday I chased her down on the playground and I threw grass on her head. It was very fun, except I hope Santa did not see me do that. That guy watches me like a hawk this time of year. From Junnie B. First Grader. P.S. Hey, wait, I almost forgot. Today all the first grades are going to sing holiday songs together. That will be a hoot, I tell you, because... Just then, I quick stopped writing because I couldn't believe my eyeballs. That Snoopy-head May was stretching her neck across the aisle, and she was reading my journal page. I slammed my book shut speedy fast. This is none of your beeswax, sister, I said, but May was already jumping out of her chair. Mr. Scary, she hollered real loud. Junnie Jones wrote a bad name about me in her journal. She wrote that I am a blabbermouth, and bladdermouse, and bladder is not a nice word. I rolled my eyes at that dumb comment. It's not bladdermouse, it's blabbermouth, May, I said. Blabbermouth is spelled with B, not D's. Mr. Scary stood up at his desk. Girls, please, he said. Then he was going to growl at us, probably, but the phone rang from the office, and he had to answer it. I crossed my arms and me. B is the same letter that you always forget when you say my name, remember? And so, maybe I should use B in a sentence for you. I leaned close to her eardrum. Dear Blabbermouth May, my name is Junnie B. Jones. How come you can't remember B's, huh, May, huh? Are you a blockhead or something? May's face got very puffy. Then all of a sudden, she grabbed my journal right off my desk, and she started to rip out the pages. I tried to grab it back from her, but May would not let me go off that thing. And so me and her got into a tugger. I pulled real hard, and May pulled harder, then oomph! I pulled and pulled with all my might, and me and my journal went flying back to my seat. I hugged my book all safe and sound, but something did not feel right. I looked down. During the tugger, May's sweater sleeve accidentally got hooked on my thumb. And so, oh no, her sleeve got stretched across the aisle with me. I quick untangled it from my thumb, but the sleeve did not bounce back. Instead, it would just stay on the lap, real longish and droopish. I did a gulp at that thing. Then, very slow, I looked over at May, and kaboom! The whole stack blew off. She exploded out of her seat, and she hollered at the top of her lungs, Mr. Scary, Junnie Jones wrecked my sweater sleeve. Junnie Jones wrecked my sweater sleeve. Mr. Scary hung up the phone. I quick ratted up May's sleeve, and I tried to give it back to her, but she would not even take it, and so the sweater sleeve unrolled itself to the floor. May's eyes popped out of her head. It's all the way to the floor, she yelled. It's ruined, my sweater is ruined. I tapped my fingers, really thinking, well, the whole sweater isn't ruined, actually. It's just that one sleeve, May, I said, kind of quiet. If you grow one arm to the ground, it'll fit like a glove, probably. May opened her mouth to holler again, but Mr. Scary was already hurrying down our row. He did not say a word to us. Instead, he took May and me by our hands, and he rushed us into the hall. May's sweater sleeve dragged on the floor behind her. She picked it up real limp. Look at this. Just look at this, Mr. Scary, she grouched. Jinnie Jones wrecked my sweater. Jinnie Jones wrecks everything. I did a mad breath. I did not wreck everything, I said. And anyway, this wasn't even my fault. You're the one who started me. You're the one who stole my journal. Mr. Scary looked down at me. Store, he said. The word is store, Jinnie, not stored. I sucked in my cheeks. As now was not the time for grammar. Fine, she stole my journal, I said. She just grabbed it right off my desk, and she tried to rip the pages out. May kept on arguing, but I only took her journal because she wrote a bad name about me, she said. I stamped my foot, but May wouldn't even know about that name if she didn't snoop. I said, snooping is somebody in someone's journal is an invasion of their privacy. Piracy. Mr. Scary did a little frown. Privacy, he said. It's an invasion of privacy, Junnie, not piracy. I threw my head back. For the love of Pete, can't you just let us go? I am trying to make a point here, I said. Mr. Scary glared his eyes. He said for me to calm myself down, young lady. I jumped all the way in the air. I am calm, I hollered back. After that, I got marched speedy quick to the water fountain, and I had to drink some sips of water and settle myself. I drank and settled. Then I wiped off my mouth, and I rocked back and forth on my feet, kind of nervous. Sorry, I said real quiet. Sorry I got mad, Mr. Scary. I looked up at him. Sometimes grammar makes my head explode, I said. Mr. Scary smiled a little bit. Then he took me back to May, and he talked to us in a calm voice. I really don't understand your behavior lately, girls, he said. The holidays are the time of year when we try to spread peace and goodwill, but you two are treating each other worse and worse every day. Me and May quick pointed at each other. It's her fault, we shouted together. Mr. Scary shook his head. I don't care whose fault it is, he said. If you two have another fight today, there will be no holiday sing-along for either one of you. Instead, you will be parking yourselves in the principal's office for the afternoon. My body did a shiver at those words, 'cause I've parked at principal's before, that's why. And there's not a lot of singing that goes on down there. So what's it going to be, girls? Said my teacher. Do you want to shake hands and make up, or do you want to spend the afternoon at the office? My eyes glanced over at May. She was standing still as a statue, and her eyes were staring at the floor. I waited and waited for her to shake hands with me, but she did not look up. Finally, Mr. Scary tapped his annoyed foot at us. Well, he said again. I waited some more, but May still did not budge herself. That's how come I did a big loud breath, and I picked up May's long sweater sleeve and I gave it a shake. There, fine. I shaked with her, I said. Shook, said Mr. Scary. Whatever, I said. Then he dropped the sleeve back on the floor, and I kicked it over to May with my foot. She did a gasp. Then she quick picked it up and swatted the dirt off on my pants. Hey, quit it, I yelled. Mr. Scary snapped his loud fingers at us. May stopped swatting. I was just getting the dust out, she said. Mr. Scary filled his cheeks up with air, and he let it out with real slow. Then he took us by our hands again, and we walked back to room 1. Peace and goodwill did not come easy. Jingle hats. The rest of the morning we did arithmetic. Arithmetic is the score word for adding and taking away. Only I couldn't even concentrate on my numbers that good. On account of May kept giving me a looks, giving me mean looks, and flopping her sweater sleeve around. Pretty soon, there was a knock on the door. "Come in, please," said room 1. Mr. Scary taught us to say that, only I don't actually know why. 'Cause people come in anyway. The door opened very slow, and it was Mr. Toot, the music teacher. He was carrying a big brown box in his arms. It was dusty, I think, 'cause when Mr. Toot plopped the box on the floor, Sheldon started to sneeze his head off. Sheldon is very allergic to dust particles. Also, he is allergic to hoyages, and dairy product and nature. Achoo, 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 achoo. Mr. Scary looked at him, real panicked. Then he quickly picked up a tissue box, and he rushed to Sheldon's desk. But Sheldon was already wiping his nose on his shirt sleeve. "Aha! I beat you again, Mr. Scary," he said. "I beat you at that race every time I sneeze." Mr. Scary closed his eyes. "I have told you before, Sheldon, we are not racing, he said. Sheldon laughed. Then he threw his fist in the air and he shouted, "Sheldon thoughts words." Mr. Scary rolled his eyes. Then he moved the dusty box farther away from Sheldon's desk. Mr. Toot lifted the lid. I stood up to look, and wowie wow wow, guess what was in there? Elf clothes! That's what. There were little green elf hats and jingle bells on their ends. Plus, also, there were cute elf vests and birds. Mr. Toot held them up for us to see. Boys and girls, our PTO made these custom costumes several years ago for our holiday sing-alongs, he said. "Aren't they great? Every single first grader is going to get to wear one today." He started passing them out. My witchy friend Lucille got hers first. She looked at it and made a face. "Okay, number 1, I do not wear the shade of green. And number 2, I don't wear bell hats," she said. Mr. Scary looked up at the ceiling. Then he took Lucille by her hand and he walked her into the hall. And she came back wearing her bear hat. Pretty soon, all of room 1 were wearing our bear hats too. We shook our heads. The birds jangled and jangled very jingly. "Hey, this room sounds just like a jinglebell sleigh," I said. Mr. Toot chuckled. "You're right, Junnie. Every year, one lucky class gets to wear the jingle bell hats. And this year, because room 1 has been so well behaved in music class, I chose you." All of the children clapped and cheered, except for not Lisa. Instead, she threw her hands in the air and shouted, "What are the odds?" After that, she flopped her head on her desk, and she didn't come up again. Mr. Toot ignored her. "And that's not all my good news either," he said, "because each year, the class with the bear hats goes on stage, and they lead the whole auditorium in singing jingle bells." Room 1 jumped up from our seats. Jingle bells, yay, yay, we are going to lead jingle bells." Mr. Toot smiled. "Okay, everyone, just to make sure that you know the words, we are going to have a short rehearsal." He said, "Rehearsal!" we shouted. "Yay, yay, rehearsal!" Only too bad for us, because rehearsal was not to shout about. Nothing to shout about. We sang the dumb song a jillion times, I bet. At first, it was kind of fun, only then it got real boring. And so that's how come I started singing funny different words. They were funny words about Batman and Robin. I sang them loud so my friends could hear. Jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg. Batmobile lost his wheel and Joker got away. Herbert and Lenny laughed and laughed, made it a gasp. Then she sprang up like a spring, and she started to chatter, Mr. Toot, Mr. Toot, Junnie Jones is singing the wrong. I quick yanked her skirt. Psst, May, are you crazy? I whispered. You and I can't fight anymore. Remember that? If you tattletale on me, we will be parking ourselves in principals. May covered her mouth with her hands, and she sat down real fast. Oops, never mind, she said to Mr. Teat. I wiped my worried forehead. Whew, that was a close one, I said. I saved our gooses. May leaned across the aisle. You did not save our gooses, Junnie Jones, she said. I saved our gooses. I'm the one who didn't tatter. She pointed her finger at me. But you better not sing those bad words at the sing-along, she said. I mean it, Junnie Jones. If you sing those bad words on stage, I will tell on you, no matter what. I did a big breath. Robin laid an egg is not a bad word, May. I said, an egg is nothing for a bird to be ashamed of. I don't care. It doesn't matter, she said. You already ruined enough today, Junnie Jones. You ruined my sweater and you ruined my mood. But you're not going to ruin the sing-along too. She crossed her arms at me. Even if I get in trouble myself, I will still tell on you, she said. You can count on that, Junnie Jones. After that, she leaned back in her chair and she brushed her hands to get a real smudgy. I looked at that girl. May is off her rocker, I believe. Laughing all the way, we went to the sing-along after lunch, and the auditorium looked like Santa's workshop. There were a trillion cute elves in that place. And wait till you hear this. Room 1 got to sit in the very first row. I sat in the seat right next to my friend Herbert. This sing-along is going to be fun, right, Herb? Right? This sing-along is going to be the time of our lives. Just as May plopped down in the seat on the other side of me. I stopped smiling. That seat is saved, May, I told her. I am saving it for someone else. She looked and looked. She looked all around. For who? She asked. For someone, not you. That's who, I said. May did not budge herself. You can't make me move, Junnie Jones. This seat is public property, she said. She scooted closer to me. I'm going to stick to you like you. It's the only way to make you behave yourself today. I showed her my teeth and I made a girl noise. May did not look fearful. Finally, I moved closer to her and I pretended she was invisible. Pretty soon, the sing-along got started. Mr. Toot said to turn to page 1 in our holiday songbook. The first song was 12 Days of Christmas. It was about a guy who gives his girlfriend a bunch of stupid presents. I tapped on her, real curious. What would you do when 10 lords are leaping? Do you think? I said. He thought for a minute. I'd take them back and get store credit, he said. I nodded. That Herb has all the answers. After that, we sang Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Winter Wonderland. Finally, Mr. Toot stood up at his piano, and he said it was time for Jingle Bells. Room 1 hurried to the stage. It was very thrilling, except for May kept on sticking to me like glue. She stepped on my heels going up the steps. Then she crowded in real close to me, and she whispered in my ear, I'll be listening to you, Junnie Jones, she said. I'll be hearing every word you sing. I smiled to just myself because I had a surprise up my arm, that's why. Pretty soon, Mr. Toot raised his hands to start the song. I stood up straight and tall. Then I took a big breath. and they sang the words out loud and clear, dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. O'er the fields we go, laughing all the way, ha ha ha. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. My eyes glanced over at May. Her face looked disappointed almost. I smiled, then I took another breath, and I sang the chorus in her ear. Jingle bells, Batman smiles, P.S. so does May. I throw May right off the sleigh, and then I drive away. Hey! Yelled May. I laughed at that funny comment, 'cause hey fits right into the song. Room 1 sang the chorus again, but I was laughing too hard to sing. It was a joke of my life, I tell you. Only too bad for me, 'cause as soon as we got back to the room, we tailed her head off. It was not good. Mr. Scary called us up to his desk. He said he was very disappointed in both of us. Only unfortunately there is not enough time left to send us to the office. I started to relax a teensy bit, only just then the bad news came, 'cause, what do you know, Mr. Scary said there was exactly enough time for him to write a note to our parents. Going last. Wednesday, dear first grade journal. Mother and Daddy were not good sports about the note. They said it was not funny to throw someone off a sleigh. That made me laugh all over again. I got sent to my room for a time out. Grown-ups do not understand humor. From Junnie B, first grader. I put down my pencil and I glared my eyes at May's head. She did not look up from her journal. I know you're staring at me, Junnie Jones, but I don't care. That's care that we got notes sent home, she said. My mother was proud of me, in fact. She said that you deserved to get tattered on. I glared harder. Sometimes, if you glare hard enough, you can mark people's heads. I saw that on a movie commercial once. It was PG-13, I believe. I kept squinting and glaring, but May's head did not melt. Finally, I rested my eyes. I would try to melt her again at lunch. Just then, Mr. Scary stood up at his desk, and he said to put our journals away. Boys and girls, today is the day for our first visit on the holiday gift shop in the media center. Remember, he said, I sent a notice about it home to your parents last week. He smiled. Today, we'll just be looking at the gifts, he said. Then on Friday, we'll go back with our money and buy the things we want. I waved my hand around. Guess what, Mr. Scary? Guess what? My mother said I get to spend $1 and every person in my family, and that adds up to $5 entire dollars, I said. Lucille raised her hand. I can spend all the money in the world, she said. I'm rich. She stood up and fluffed herself. My family has more money than you can shake a stick at. Mr. Scary stared at her a real long time. Well, yes, fortunately, we don't need to be rich to shop at the gift shop, Lucille, he said at last. Everything there is very affordable. Does everyone know what affordable means? I do, I called out. Affordable means cheap. Cheap. My Grandpa, Frank Miller loves cheap. Sheldon jumps up. Hey, my grandpa loves cheap too. My grandma calls him Cheap Ornette. Mrs. Scary did a chuckle. But before we go to the gift shops, we're going to draw names for our Secret Santa gift party. That way, you will be able to look for your Secret Santa gifts while you're down there too, he said. We've been talking about this party all week. Can anyone tell me the most important rules about being a Secret Santa? Room 1 shouted the rules together. You must keep the secret. Mr. Scary did a thumbs up. Yes, excellent. After you pick your names today, you must keep the name a secret, he said. If you don't keep the secret that, he carried around a basket with everyone's name in it. And all of the children closed their eyes, and they picked a name. Only too bad for me, because I am in the very last seat on the last row. On the very last row. And so, when Mr. Scary finally got to me, there was only one dumb name left in the whole entire basket. And is the dumbest part of all. My teacher pretended I should be happy about it. Congratulations, Junnie B. Jones, he said. You have the honor of choosing the final name. I drummed my fingers very annoyed. Okay, see, one name left is not actually card choosing. One name left is card. Take it or leave it. I crossed my mad arms. I hate being in this seat, Mr. Scary. I hate it. I get all the bad stuff back here, I said. Even on the very first day of school, I got the only crayons that were already used. Mr. Scary looked up at the ceiling. Yes, Junnie, I know that. We all know that, he said. You mention it every time we color. I looked at some of my friends. Did I mention that my red crayon wasn't very even pointy? Because it wasn't. You know, my red crayon was already roundy, said Lenny. Yes, you told us that already. And run my fingers somewhere. Did I mention about that weenie were broken in half? I said my weenie was just a teensy little stubby, said Hosea. See, he told us that too. Mr. Scary handed me the last name. Look, right now. Someone in this room is counting on you to be their secret Santa, Junnie B, he said. So you really need to read that name now. I did a sigh. Then I slid down in my chair real glum. And I read the name May. Earth ladies. My head clunked down on my desk real hard. Mr. Scary read the name on my paper. I raised up and looked at him. Then I clunked back down again. Mr. Scary said, please knock off the clunking. He took my hand and stood me up. Boys and girls, Junnie B needs a little bit of help reading their name, he said. We'll be right back. Then, quick as a wink, he hurried me into the hall, and he closed the door. I crossed my mad arms again. It's not fair, Mr. Scary. I hate that dumb name. I hate it, I said. My teacher snapped his fingers. You know I don't allow that word in my classroom, Junnie B, he said. We do not hate in room 1. I looked all around myself. But I'm not hating in room 1, I said. I'm hating in the hall. Mr. Scary looked at me. We don't hate in the hall either, he said. I raised my eyebrows real curious. Really? No kidding? He said. A lot of children will be surprised to hear that. Mr. Scary bent next to me. Look, I know you and May aren't best of friends, he said, but this is the time of peace and goodwill. Remember, and being a secret Santa to someone you don't like is the truest form of goodwill there is. I stared at him. How do teachers come up with this stuff? Really, Junnie B, he said, if you do something nice for me, you'll feel so proud inside. It'll feel like a gift that you've given yourself. I kept staring. Maybe they picked it up at teacher's score. After that, he ruffled my hair, and he walked me back inside. Pretty soon, all of the children lined up at the door, and we followed Mr. Scary to the gift shop. The media center is down the hall and around the corridor. Around the corner, there was a gift shop lady in an elf hat. Welcome, room 1, she said. Welcome to our holiday gift shop. She smiled at us with big white teeth. I'm the president of the PTO, she said. My name is Mrs. Hooks. But just for today, you can call me Elf Ellen. She looked around. Some of you might know my son, Jeff. Jeff is a big third grader. Roger raised his hands in the air. I know Jeff Hooks, he said. Jeff Hooks stole my mark money last year. Elf Ellen stood there very frozen. Then she quick pointed across the room. Over there is Elf Wendy. Elf Wendy and I are here to help you with your gifts selections. If you have any questions, please let me know. Roger waved his hands again. Did Jeff Hooks ever get punished for what he did? I reported him to the office, but I never got my money back. Evelyn squinted her eyes at him. I meant questions about the gift shop, she said. After that, she passed our lists with all about the prices. Children, as you can see, each of our 5 gift tables has a number on it, she said. The numbers on the table matches the price of all the gift on that particular table. Particular table, she pointed. For example, all of the gifts on table 1 sell for $1. And all of the gifts in table 2 sell for $2. And the gifts on table 3 sell for $3. And so on. Does everybody understand? Sheldon raised his hand. What about the gifts on the table 4? He asked. How much did they go for? Elf Ellen sucked in her cheeks. Table 4 has 4 on it, doesn't it? 4 means 4. They sell for $4. Sheldon nodded very thoughtfully. I see, he said. And table 5? Elf Ellen looked at Mr. Scary. Is he pulling my leg? Mr. Scary grinned. Sheldon grinned too. Roger called out another question. Where's table 35 cents? He asked. And how much Jeff Hooks there owes me? Is there a table 25 cents? Elf Ellen glared her eyes at Roger, and then she quick reached into her pocket and she gave him 35 cents. There, she said, are you satisfied? After that, she took off her outfit and she put it on the counter, and she said she is going on break. Roger smiled. Mr. Scary smiled too. Giving. Elf Wendy clapped her hands together. She said it was time for us to browse around. Except for please do not break the toys. And please do not eat the candy canes. And please do not blow our noses on the handkerchiefs. I skipped the table too real excited because I already saw something that I loved. Crayons! They got crayons! I said very thrilled. I picked them up and looked inside. Look! The red has sharp a head, and green is not even a stubby. I breathed the brand new smell. I would love to buy these things, I said. Just then, my friend Herbert pulled me over to table 1. Tattoos! They've got tattoos, Junnie B. And they really look real, he said. I did a gasp at those things. There were pirate tattoos, and dragon tattoos, and dinosaur tattoos, and kitty cat tattoos. Plus also, they had a nice variety of swamp animals. Whoa, that is all the tattoos a kid could ever dream of, I said. I would love to buy those things. Then all of a sudden, my eyes glanced over to table 3, and my whole entire mouth was open. It was glow-in-the-dark barrettes. I get really excited. I've always wanted these things. Cool, said Herb. I know they're cool, Herbert, I said, 'cause if you lose your hair in the dark, you will always be able to find it. Just then, I felt a tap on my shoulders. I spun around. It was May. You shouldn't be wanting to buy gifts for yourself, Junnie Jones, she said. We are here to buy gifts for others. I put my hand over my ears. Whoops, bad news, I can hear you, I said. May raised up her voice. It is nicer to give than receive, she shouted. Giving is the spirit of the holiday season. I am a giver. I give, and I give, and I give, and I give. Just then I thought I heard another voice. I turned to look. Mr. Screamy was calling out some words to us, I think. Yes, I can't actually hear you. I've got my hands over my ears. I called back. He walked over to me and took my hands away. His face did not look happy. You two aren't having another problem, are you? He said. He asked. I shook my head very rapidly. Nope. No, sirree, no problem, I said. I was just being thrilled at these gifts. That's all I was doing. We stood up real proud, and I was just telling her to be a giver like me, she said. My mother says that some people are born to be givers, and other people are born to be selfish. She glanced her eyes at me. I stood there very puzzled. Then I looked up at Mr. Screamy. I don't even care for shellfish, I said. He did a little smile. He said May and I could browse some more, but to please keep our voices down. Only what do you know? As soon as he said that, we heard the loudest noise of the day, and it's called, Ha! Someone in room 1 did the giantest burp in the world. Our heads spun around to see, and we could not believe our eyeballs. Lucille, it's Lucille, we shouted. Then all of a sudden, all of us started laughing at once. Lucille burped, she burped, we hollered again. I didn't even know rich people burped, I said. Me neither, said Sheldon. I am pleasantly surprised. Lucille stamped her expensive foot. But I didn't burp. I didn't, she yelled. She held up a round toy in her hand. It looked like a beanbag, sort of. It was this thing, she said. This thing burped. Not me. Lucille gave it a squeeze, and another giant burp. Everyone laughed until our sides hurt. Even May was laughing. Plus, Mr. Scary was laughing too. A good burp can bring the whole world together, I tell you. Mr. Scary went to table 5, and he read us some information about that toy. It costs $5, and it's called a squeeze-a-burp, he said. All of us clapped at that silly name. A squeeze-a-burp, we hollered. The squeeze-a-burp again, Mr. Scary. Mr. Scary smiled, but he shook his head no, and he put it back on the table. I think we've had enough burping for one day, don't you? He said. Someone did a groan. How can you have too much burping, said Hosea. Burping is pure entertainment. Sheldon nodded. I agree. My grandpa can burp the Star-Spangled Banners, he said. I've been trying to bring him in for show and tell, but he's booked solid. I looked at Sheldon very admiring. He comes from a talented family, I think. After that, all of the children hurried to table 5, and we gathered around the squeeze-a-burps. We read the writing on one of the bags. It said, Squeeze-a-burp, the world's biggest birch in the bag. That gift is genius, I said. I would love to buy that thing. Who wouldn't, said Lenny. Said Hosea. Even my grandmother would love a birch in a bag. Shirley slumped her shoulders. I just wish it didn't cost $4, she said. $5 is a lot of money for a burp. Yeah, said Sheldon, except for my grandpa. Everyone in my family still burps for free. After that, all of the children walked away to browse some more. Only not me. I just kept standing there and standing there. Because the squeezable was the funniest gift I ever heard of. And I had to have one of those things, I tell you. I just had to. Doing the math. That day, I ran home from my bus stop speedy fast. Because Wednesday is Grandpa Miller's day to babysit my baby brother Ollie. And when I needed money, Frank Miller is the man to talk to. I yelled for him at the top of my voice. Grandpa Miller, hey Grandpa Miller, I need you, I hollered out. He called up from the basement. Junnie B, is that you? I'm down here with Ollie. We're fixing the dryer. I hurried down there as fast as I could. Ollie was sitting in the laundry basket. He was hammering his shoe with his red plastic hammer. I patted him on his head. Ollie has a screw loose, I think. After that, I raced to my grandpa and I climbed up on the dryer. I'm so glad you are here, Grandpa Miller. On account of Friday, I have to buy gifts at the school gift shop and Mother is giving me $5. I grabbed him by his shirt collar. But I need more, Frank. I need $5 more because 5 and 5 is 10. And $10 will buy me everything I want. My grandpa did a chuckle. You sweet little girl, you don't need to spend a lot of money on gifts for Grandma and me. I said, $1 a piece is just fine. And I'm sure your mother and daddy and Ollie will feel the same way. He put me down from the dryer. It's not how much a gift costs that makes it special, Junnie B, he said. It's the thought that counts. I looked at that man. I was not making myself clear, apparently. Okay, here's the deal, I said. Grandpas have to give their grandkids however money we want. It's the rewards. Grandpa Miller raised his eyebrows. Oh, it is it? He said. After that, he chuckled some more, and he went behind the dryer again. I scratched my head. This attitude was throwing me for a loop. I climbed back up on the dryer, and I tapped on his head. How come you're not getting this, Grandpa? It's so simple. I said, I need $5, and you have $5. Boom! Do the math. Grandpa Miller looked up at me. Boom, do the math? He repeated it. It's that what you just said. Then all of a sudden, he did a loud hoot of laughing. Boom, do the math. Huh, that's priceless. I crossed my arms very annoyed, because boom, do the math is not a laughing matter. I got down from the dryer very grouchy. Oh, just never mind the whole thing, I grumped. Then I started to go upstairs. But Grandpa called me back. Whoa, don't go away, Matt, he said. I turned around and wait till you hear this. That man was taking money out of his wallet. You're going to do all right in life, little girl, he said, real nice. And then he gave me $5 whole. Thank you, Grandpa, thank you, I said. Then I gave him my biggest hug ever. And I ran upstairs to tell Philip Johnny Bob. Philip Johnny Bob is my bestest stuffed elephant. I have known him ever since he got manufactured. I picked him up and threw him in the air. The squeeze-a-burp, Philip, I'm going to get the squeeze-a-burp, I hollered real joyful. Philip looked down from the air. He said, please stop throwing him. I caught him all safe and sound. Then I sat him on my pillow, and I told him all about the gift shop. Plus, I showed him the list of gift items. The gift shop is where you go to buy things for others, mostly I said. And so I'm only buying one little toy for myself. And that's all, 'cause one little toy is not even a shellfish, even being a shellfish. Right, Phil? Right? Right, said Philip. Plus, a good burp is something the whole family can enjoy. Exactly. That's what I think too, I said. Plus, everyone will still get their own entire gifts that costs $1. And so, what could be nicer than that? You are a giver, said Philip. I patted him for that nice comment. Then both of us looked at my list of gifts again, and we read all the stuff that only costs $1. Philip tapped on his trunk. It's hard to choose, isn't it? He said. There are some very lovely gift items. Then all of a sudden, Philip's eyes popped right out of his head. Tattoos? He said. They have tattoos? Yes, Philip. They have 5 different kinds of tattoos, and all of them really, really looks real. I said. Ooh, he said. You can't go wrong with tattoos. I clapped very happy. I agree, I said. And so it is all settled, Philip. Philip, I will buy everyone their very own tattoos. And that will use up my whole $10. It works out perfect. Me and Philip, Johnny, Bob did a high five. Then we flopped back on my pillow and we smiled and smiled. Friday is going to be fun, I said, 'cause in the morning I will buy presents. And in the afternoon, room 1 will have our secret Santa party. Philip jumped in the air. Gifts at a secret Santa party. What can be better than that? We flopped back on my pillow again. Then all of a sudden, I did a little frown, 'cause I just remembered something very important. Uh-oh, I said. Uh-oh, said Philip. I did a gulp. I forgot about the Secret Santa gift, Philip. I have to buy a Secret Santa gift for dumb old May. Philip shrugged his shoulders. Yeah, so, he said. All of my $10 is already used up, I said. And so, where will I get the money for May? Philip looked strange at me. For Mother and Daddy, of course. Money for school presents is their job, Junnie, not yours. I felt relief in me. Thanks, you're right, Phil. It is their job, I said. Plus, a gift from May won't even cost much, hardly. Right, said Philip. Any dumb old gift will do for May. I shook my finger at him. Hey, that is not a good attitude, mister, I said. Then both of us started laughing, and we couldn't even stop. Being shellfish. Thursday. Dear first grade journal, I cannot believe this situation. Mother said no more money, plus Daddy said no more money too. And said Grandpa Miller already gave me. They said Grandpa Miller already gave me $4 more. Only he was not supposed to tell them that. And so great. Now I have stress in my head. I need an extra buck. I tell you, I really, really need an extra buck. Your friend, Junnie B., first waiter. I closed my journal, and I looked all around. My friend Herbert was not writing in his journal. I tapped on his head. Psst, Herb, I need a buck. I really, really need a buck. He nodded. I know, Junnie B. You told me that on the bus, remember? But I don't have a buck. I really, really don't. He pulled out his pockets to show me. Then he turned back around. I tapped on his head again. Yeah, only I don't need it now, Herb. I need it for tomorrow, I explained. And so just bring me $1 tomorrow, and I will be your bestest friend. Herb turned around again. You already are my bestest friend, he said. Plus, I already told you. My mother will only give me the exact amount I need for my gifts. She says every time she gives me extra money, I lose it. I rolled my eyes. Mothers, I said. They're all the same. They think children lose everything, and we don't. Herb nodded. I No, we don't. It's ridiculous. After that, he came back and looked in my desk. Can I borrow a pencil? I lost mine. I gave him a pencil. Then I reached across the iron and I tapped on Lenny. Psst, Lenny, I need an extra buck tomorrow. Can you bring an extra buck? Huh, Lenny, please, please, please. Lenny shook his head. Sorry, Junnie, but my parents are tightwads. I've never had an extra buck in my life, he said. Hosea turned around and nodded. My parents are tightwads too, he said. They are muy tacanos. That means tightwads in Spanish. Just then, Snoopy had reached across the road very happy, and she poked me with her pencil. Ask me, Jinnie Jones, ask me, she said. My parents aren't tightwads. I always have extra money. She reached into her backpack. I have $200 with me right now. Want to see? She took out a shiny plastic wallet. And wow. There were $200 folded up in there. See, Cindy, I told you I had money. My parents say I shouldn't always have money in case of an emergency. I said a very perky. Wow, that's a coincidence. Wow, what a coincidence, 'cause this is an emergency, May, I said. And so if you were just giving me one of those dollars, that would take care of my whole entire problem. I held out my hand, but May just frowned her eyebrows. Don't be silly. This is for my emergencies, not yours, Jinnie Jones, she said. She started to put her wallet back. I talked my fastest. But you are a giver, May. Remember that? You are a giver, and I am a selfish. May shrugged. Yeah, so if you give me $1, I will take $1. And that will make sense for both of us. May shook her head. No, I can't, she said. My father says that friends should never borrow money from each other. I clapped my hands. We are thrilled. Then it's perfect, I said, because you and I aren't friends. I don't even like you, May. Plus, listen to this. I'm not even borrowing the money. You're just giving to me. And I'm not paying you back. May made a mad face at me. Then she quick put her wallet away again. I slumped way down in my seat, and I tapped my fingers on my desk. I don't get it, I said. That was the best arguing I ever thought of. What went wrong there? Herb turned around. I think it might have been the I don't even like you, May part, he said. I nodded. Plus, I'm not paying you back part was probably not the way to go either. May leaned her head across the aisle. Or else, maybe you were never ever getting the money in the first place, she said real mean. Did you ever think of that, Jinnie Jones? I glared my eyes at her. You're going to be sorry. I thought in my head, you're really going to be sorry. Just then, Mr. Scary stood up at his desk, and he said to put our journals away. He went to the closet and took out some white paper sacks. Boys and girls, these white sacks are going to hold our secret Santa gifts. He explained today, each one of us will decorate your own sack, and tomorrow your secret Santa will put your gifts inside. He passed them out. Please print your name clearly on your sack, he said. Then at the end of the day, I'll arrange them on the back table. And tomorrow, when we come back for the gift shop, your secret Santa will go back there and deliver the gifts right to your sack. Sound like fun? Room 1 clapped real happy. Fun, we said. Really, really fun, said May. She jumped up from her chair. Thinking about Secret Santa days puts me in a happy mood, she said. Even Jinnie Jones can ruin my Secret Santa day tomorrow. After that, she skipped around her desk and she sat back down again. Then I glared at her some more. Oh, yes, I can, May. I thought again. I can ruin your day, but good. I crossed my mad arms. I would think of a way, no matter what. I stayed mad at May for the whole rest of the day. 'cause that meanie girl didn't even deserve a Secret Santa gift. I tell you, she didn't deserve any dumb gift at all. I rode the bus home very grumpy. If I was the real Santa Claus, I would give May coal in her stocking. I grouched just myself. That's what she really deserves. She deserves coal. Just then I sat very still, and I did not move my muscles. My brain rewinded itself. Coal. She deserves coal. It thought again. Chill bumps came on my arms. I sat up straighter. I am a genius, I think. I zoomed home from my bus stop as fast as a rocket. Then I ran in my front door, and I ran out my back door. And I stopped at Daddy's barbecue grill. The barbecue grill is where Daddy cooks hamburgers and hot dogs. And there is a big bag of coal there. I reached in my hand, and I poured out a lump. And I rushed to my room, speak quick, and I showed the coal to Philip, Johnny, Bob. Coal, I got coal, Phil. See it, huh? See the coal? Coal is what the real Santa Claus gives mean children. And so that is exactly what I will give May. Philip stared at me, added very curious. Yeah, only here's the problem. That's not actually coal, he said. That's called a chocolate bucket. I did an annoyed breath at him. Yes, Philip, I know it's a chocolate bucket, I said. But I saw a picture of coal before, and it looks exactly like this, kind of. And so May will not even know the difference. Philip looked at the coal some more. Oh, I get it, she said. The coal is to teach her a lesson, right? Right there, I said. That's how come Santa thought of coal in the first place, to teach bad children lessons. Philip grinned. Plus, after May learns a lesson, she can grow herself a hot dog, he said. I laughed out loud at that funny guy. He is a joke a minute, I tell you. I put the coal in a little plastic baggie, and I dropped it in my backpack. I said, the perfect Secret Santa gift for Minnie May, and it didn't even cost me a single cent. I wiped the coal dirt off my hands. And that is that. So dear, the bestest gift. The next morning, Mother gave me a $5 bill for the gift shop. I looked at it in my hand. Big whoop, I said. I would not actually recommend seeing that comment. I got marched to my room for a timeout. While I was there, I unzipped my backpack and I checked on my coat. It was still safe and sound in its plastic baggie. After that, I got the $5 Grandpa Miller gave me, and I added it to Mother's money, and I hid all of my dollars in the bottom of my shoe. Hiding money in your shoe is a good way to keep it safe from pickpocket people. I saw it on a Trapper channel. But I must have done something wrong, I think, on account of my dollar got very wetted up at the end of my socks, and they pressed against my little piggy toe. That's how come when I got to room 1, I took off my shoe and I rubbed my toe all better. May looked over at me. She made a face and held her nose. That is disgusting, Junnie Jones, she said. People should not play with their own stinky feet. I raised my eyebrows, very curious. Then, whose stinky feet should we play with? I said. I asked. May put her hands over her ears. I'm not going to listen to you today. She said, today is Secret Santa Day, and I'm not going to let you ruin my happy mood. After that, she turned back around, and she tapped on Lenny's head. Happy Secret Santa Day, Lenny. I can't wait for the party. Can you? Lenny started to answer, but May interrupted. I dressed all in red and green today, she said. See my socks? One is red and one is green, see? Lenny stared at her feet. When my grandfather does that, we make him go back and change, he said. made the giggle. But I did it on purpose, Lenny, she said. See the ribbons on my braids? One is red and one is green, just like my socks. And see, my saddle is green and my dress is red. She stood up and turned around. This is how everybody should dress on Secret Santa Day, she said. Every time I think about our party, it makes my skin prickle. Want to see? She closed her eyes for a second, then she did a little quiver. Woo, I farted, she said. I felt my skin prickle again. Lenny stared at her. I stared at her too. 'Cause I never actually saw her happy before. You're acting like a nut, I said. How come you are acting like a nut? May started to make a mad face. Then very quick she smiled again. Ha! See that, Jingle? See how fast I smiled? Even if you call me names, you still can't ruin my happy mood today. I made the cuckoo sign at her. But May kept right on smiling. Pretty soon the bell rang to start school. Mr. Scary took attendance. Also, we did opening ceremonies. Then hooray, hooray, he said it was time for room 1 to go to the gift shop. And clapped real loud at that happy news, 'cause pretty soon I would have my very own squeeze-a-burp. And that is a dream come true. He sprang out of my chair, and I ran to the door. Yay, 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 I'm first in line, I called real joyful. Then I jumped up and down, and I twirled all around for the star, so I skipped to and fro. Mr. Scary said to please settle down, but my feet would not stop bouncing. That's how come Mr. Scary finally gave up on me, and he held my hand, and both of us led room 1 to the gift shop. I zoomed in the door as fast as I could. Then I ran straight to table 5. But wait till you hear this. There was only one squeeze-a-burp left. I did a gasp at that situation. Then I quick grabbed it, and I hid it in my sweater. And I zoomed to the gift shop ladies pretty fast. Quick, hurry, put it in my bag, I whispered. I don't want people to see me buying this, or they might call me a starfish. The gift lady looked odd at me. Then I handed her my money, and she put the burp in a bag, and no one even saw. I hid the bag in my sweater pocket. Then I walked real calm to table 1. I picked out 5 sets of tattoos, and guess what? Everyone in my family got their own special kind, because Grandpa Miller got dinosaurs, and Mother got dragons, and Daddy got pirates, and Ollie got kitty cats, and my Grandma Helen Miller got a nice variety of swamp animals. She'll love these things, I said. There's a swamp animal to match every occasion. After that, I skipped to the gift lady, and I gave her my rest of the money. I gave her the rest of my money. She put them in my same bag. I smiled when I looked in there. These are the bestest gifts I ever bought, I told her. The gift lady nodded. Yes, she said, tattoos and a birch. Your family will be delighted. I did a happy giggle. Then I ran to the door of the gift shop, and I lined up to go back to room 1. I'm all done, people. I'm all done with my shopping, I called out. May walked by me. This isn't a race, Ginny Jones, she said. I made a face at her. Then I sat down on the floor, and I waited and waited and waited. Room 1 is the slowest shoppers you ever saw. Then finally, Mr. Scary said it was time to go back to our room. And so everyone lined up behind me, and I led them back. All of us were buzzing very much, 'cause after lunch would come the party, of course. And the party meant, ha, we get our Secret Santa gifts. Mr. Scary hurried to the back of the room. Boys and girls, all of our paper sacks you decorated yesterday are lined up here on the back table, he said. When I call your name, you will walk back here, and I'll help you find the right bag, okay? Then you'll secretly drop your Secret Santa gift inside and walk back to your seat. He smiled. You don't have much time, so we've got to be orderly, he said. The rest of you will stay busy writing or drawing in your journals. And remember, no peeking. He called Lucida's names first. She skipped to the front of the room and did a twirl. This is just in case anyone missed seeing my expensive party dress today, she said. Then she skipped to the back of the room with her gift shop bag. I looked over at May. She was getting out her journal and not paying attention to me. Very sneaky, I reached my hand in my backpack and I pulled out the baggie with the cord inside. Then I bent over very secret and I dropped the cord in my gift shop bag. The plastic made a crinkle sound. May turned her head to see. I smiled. She was too late. The cord was all ready to go. Pressure, Friday. Dear First Grade Journal, I keep thinking about May's present. I wonder what will happen when she sees the core. I wonder what her face will look like. I wonder if she will learn a lesson. I wonder if Santa were proud of me. That is all the things I am wondering. Your friend Junnie B, first grader. Just then, I felt a poke. It was May. Are you getting excited, Junie Jones? I'm getting excited. I'm getting excited, she said. Lenny heard her. Me too, he said. I'm getting excited too. Herb and Hosea both nodded their heads. Me too, they said together. May squirmed and bounced around in her seat. She was acting like a regular kid. Having a secret Santa makes you feel like you have a best friend, she said, very giggling. Right, Lenny? Huh? It makes you feel like you have a best friend, doesn't it? Lenny looked funny at her. But I do have a best friend, May, he said. My best friend is Hosea. Hosea smiled. Bagacha, Len, he said. Bagacha, Len, he said. Herb pointed at me. And my best friend is Junnie B, he said. I poked him very fun. And my bestest friend is Y-O-U, Herbert. You, Herbert. Just then, May stopped bouncing and squirming, and her face lost all its happy. Oh, she said real soft, right. Her shoulders slumped a little bit. Well, anyway, that's what it makes me feel like, she said. Having a secret Santa makes me feel like I have a best friend, too. After that, all of us sat there very still. The mood did not feel happy anymore. Very slow, Lenny and Hosea turned back around in their chairs. Me and Herb turned around, too. We didn't talk again. We just sat there and waited for Mr. Scary to call our names. Finally, he called Hosea. And then Lenny, May started to get excited again. I heard her whispering to herself, It's almost my turn. It's almost my turn. It's almost my turn. Just then, Lenny came back from the gift table, and May sprang right up. Me, it's time for me, she hollered. Then she grabbed her gift bag, and she ran right back to Mr. Scary. Pretty soon, it would be my turn, too. I picked up my gift shop bag, and I peeked at the core. My stomach was a little bit sickish at the sight of it. I wonder if Santa's stomach feels sickish before he gives children core. May skipped back to her chair, and she started singing Frosty the Snowman, and closed my ears. And I tried not to hear her being happy. Finally, Mr. Scary called my name. Junnie B, he said. My heart pounded real hard. I picked up my gift bag and walked to the back table. Mr. Scary winked at me. Do you need any help? He said. I shook my head real fast. No, I said. No help. No, thank you. No help, Mr. Scary. I can do this all by myself. My hands felt sweatish and clammish. I wiped them on my skirt. Then I waited very patient for my teacher to walk away. After he was gone, I picked up May's gift sack, and I held it in my hand. It was the beautifulest sack on the table. It was covered with shiny gold stars and sparkly red glitter. Plus also there was beautiful green bows all over the sides. I did a gulp. I wondered how it would look like the black cord inside it. I wondered if May would be sad when she saw it. I did another gulp. I wondered if she would stop singing Frosty. Just then, I heard my name again. Junnie B, said Mr. Scary. Are you sure you don't need any help back there? Then, oh no, before I could even answer, I heard his feet. He was coming back to help me. I felt pressure in my head. There was no time left, and so, boom, I did it. I grabbed May's present out of my gift bag, and I dropped it right in her sack. Then I hurried back to my desk, speedy fast, and I plopped down in my seat. I took some deep breaths. It was over, and that was that. The end. May's big surprise. Room 1 went to lunch. I did not eat my sandwich. Also, I did not eat my carrot sticks. Because how can you even swallow stuff when my stomach's here suffers sickish? I kept thinking about what I did. Only it didn't even matter anymore. Because now it was too late. After we got back from lunch, Mr. Scary put on a Santa hat, and he passed out cakes and cookies and punch. Plus also, he gave everyone a candy cane. After that, he went back to our gift sacks, and he folded their tops shut. Okay, everyone, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Ready for me to deliver the secret Santa gifts? He said. Ready, hollered Room 1. Mr. Scary smiled. When I give you your gift sack, please keep it on your desk, he said. Then, when everyone has their sack, we will open them all together. May jumped up and clapped. That is a dear, mister, she said real silly. Then she sat back down, and she sang Frosty some more. And all of everyone started singing with her. Except not me, because I started not feel cheery about what I did. And there was nothing I could even do about it. Pretty soon, Mr. Scary hadn't made her sack. She stood up and skipped around her desk again. She was started belting out Frosty. I drummed my fingers on my desk. Okay, now her joy is actually getting on my nerves, I said to just myself. Finally, Mr. Scary gave me my gift sack, too. Thank you, I said, only I didn't actually feel that happy, 'cause May's gift kept staying on my mind. As soon as all of the sacks were passed out, Mr. Scary walked to the front of the room, and he beamed real big. Okay, everyone, when I count to 3, we'll open our gifts. Ready? He said. Ready, we shouted. Mr. Scary started to count. 1, 2, 3. Then whoosh, all of the children pulled out their gifts at once, except not me again, and not May. Instead, she just stared into her sack, and she sat there, real frozen. Her face had shock on it. Then turned around to see what she got, but May didn't move. What did you get, May? He said. What's wrong, huh? What's wrong? May didn't answer. Then Hosea turned around to and said at Herb and Chilton and Shirley, What's wrong with May? They asked. Is something wrong with May? May kept staying frozen. Finally, Mr. Scary came back to her desk, and he bent down next to her. May, is there a problem? He asked real quiet. May did a big swallow. Her eyes had a little bit of tears in them, I think. Then very slow, she handed him the gift sack, and he looked inside. His mouth dropped open at that sight. Oh, he said, oh my. He gave it back. May looked up at him. I can't believe anybody would do this, she said real soft. Do what, May? Asked Sheldon. May breathed real deep. Then she reached into her bag and she pulled out her gift. Everyone gasped real loud. They could not believe their eyeballs, I tell you. They waited to get their breath back. Then everybody started shouting all at once. The squeeze-a-burp! The squeeze-a-burp! Someone got May the squeeze-a-burp! That thing costs a fortune, called Shirley. Shirley, squeeze it, yelled Sheldon. Yes, squeeze it, yelled the children. May started to grin. Then she stood up kind of slow, and she gave that thing a squeeze. And it burped beautifully. Everyone laughed their heads off. Do it again, do it again, do it again, they shouted. And so May burped again, and Room 1 laughed again. They kept going on and on like that. Finally, May sat down for a second, and she fanned herself with her hand. I think I'm being popular, she said very stunned. Then she quick stood up again, and she skipped around the room, and she kept on squeezing her burp. It felt happy to watch her, sort of. Also, it felt hard, 'cause I really, really wanted that toy. That's why. I wanted it real bad. Only it didn't even belong to me now, and it never, ever would. My gift sack was still sitting on my desk. I put it on my lap and looked inside. Crayons! I said, very surprised. My Secret Santa got me brand new crayons. Who even knew that I needed these things? All of them turned around at once. Everyone, they said. I opened the box and breathed their new crayons now. Then I lined them up on my desk, and I smiled real happy, 'cause Greenie was not a stubby, and my red's head was perfectly pointy. I smiled even bigger. Then I drank some punch and ate a cookie. My stomach felt better now. Pretty soon, May skipped back to her desk, and she fanned herself again. Being popular really gets you tired, she said. Right, Junnie Jones, right? I looked back and nodded. Right, I said, kind of quiet. After that, May sat down, and both of us ate our cake, and we licked our candy canes. It was very peaceful of us. We were having good work, I believe. After May finished, she wiped off her mouth with her napkin. I'd better get back to my skipping now, she said. I have a lot more burping to do before the bell rings. She jumped up from her chair, but instead of skipping away, she just stood there with the squeeze burp, and she smiled at me. Then all of a sudden she reached across the aisle and she put it on my desk. Want to try it, Jingle Jones? She said. Want to do a burp? I raised my eyebrows, very shocked. Really, May? No kidding? You would really, really let me do that? Then before she could change her mind, I picked it up and I squeezed that thing as loud as I could. And wow, it was the biggest burp of the day. May clapped and clapped. That was a good one, Junnie B, she said. You did good. The words floated inside my head. I smiled. I did good. After that, May picked up her toy, and she started to skip away. Then, whoa, heard a phone. It hit me like a brick. I jumped up and grabbed May's arm. Wait a second, May. Did you just say my bee? I asked, 'cause I really, really thought you said my bee just now. I'm almost positive you did, in fact. May tipped on her chin. Really? She asked. I said your bee. That's funny. Then she did a little smile, and she skipped away. I sat there a second. Then my whole face got happy, and I don't even know why, 'cause I still really wanted that squeeze burp, I tell you. And so, how come I felt so good inside? Maybe when I got home from school, Philip Johnny Bob would help me figure it out. But for right now, there was only one thing I was really, really hoping for. I picked up my black crayon and I opened my journal. Dear Santa, I really hope that you were watching me just now. That's all I hope. Love, Junnie B. Giver. P.S. You don't happen to have an extra squeeze burp up there, do you? Peace and good fur. Amen.